It's shaping up to be one of the most anticipated appearances yet by the Premier. Tomorrow morning, the people of Sydney find out whether they'll be out of lockdown as planned on Friday night. But the COVID numbers keep rising. There are 18 new cases, including more infections at an aged care home in the city's northwest. Here's state political reporter Ashley Raper.
Supplies rushed in to help protect those most at risk.
An outreach team from Western Sydney Local Health District has been on site at the Summit Care facility from 8 a.m. this morning to vaccinate those residents yet to receive a COVID vaccine.
The virus was brought into the nursing home at Baulkham Hills by 2 unvaccinated workers. Another resident, Lona Patrick, has tested positive, so has a staff member who's had their first jab.
Pleasingly, there were no further resident exposures from that diagnosis, but there were a small number of additional staff contacts identified.
There are now 9 cases connected to the aged care facility, while another outbreak from a party at Waterloo during lockdown has 12 cases linked to it.
When the time is right, New South Wales Police will make their own inquiries, but we're very mindful of the contact tracing.
There are 18 new cases in the latest reporting period. 16 of those are linked. 11 people were in isolation for the entire time they were infectious, while 7 were out in the community.
The one thing that we're seeing, which we hoped we saw less of, is people being exposed in the community whilst they're infectious.
Health experts are considering the data today so that decisions can be made and announced tomorrow.
We only intend for this lockdown to be the only lockdown we go through, and that will factor into our decision making as to whether it finishes on Friday or whether we continue for a period longer.
Instead of finishing Friday, go to Monday or go to the following Monday. If we had just an extra 3 days, we may find by the end of the weekend that we're in much better control. It doesn't look good enough yet, that's for sure.
6 people are in intensive care, 2 are on ventilators. This is a high-stakes decision, and it's not simply providing some certainty around the lockdown. It's likely the plan for schools will be revealed as well. The Premier has also indicated she's looking longer term and what restrictions will need to be in place until the majority of the population is vaccinated. Ashley Raper, ABC News, Sydney.
Questions are being asked about how students at a prestigious Sydney boys' school have been given the vaccine, despite most under 40s not being eligible yet. The jab was given to a 160 student at St Joseph's College at Hunters Hill. Let's go to Sarah Gerethy, who's outside the school. Sarah, why were these students vaccinated?
Well, Juanita, the principal of St Joseph's College says the school approached the Sydney Local Health District about the possibility of vaccinating its students because it has a large number of boys living in a residential community which includes boarders from rural, remote and Indigenous communities. Now, we know that 163 senior boarders were vaccinated with 1 jab of Pfizer in May. They went to Sydney's RPA vaccination hub in Camperdown. Interestingly, though, the Sydney Local Health District has provided a statement tonight saying most of those boys were vaccinated in error, and it was in fact only the Indigenous students who were supposed to receive the jab. And that's because all Aboriginal people over the age of 16 are currently eligible under the federal government criteria because they're more susceptible to the virus.
And Sarah, what's the reaction been given that so many older adults are still waiting for their vaccine?
Well, Juanita, there has been a lot of people who are very frustrated about their inability to access the vaccine, and they've been pretty gobsmacked. You have to remember that when these boys were given the jab in May, there were huge swathes of people who were supposed to be at the top of the priority list who were still waiting for their vaccine. For example, only 5% of people living in disability residential care had received the jab at that time, and many of them are still waiting. Teachers too were pretty angry. They've really ramped up their campaign in recent weeks to be considered priority frontline workers and be given the jab, given how easily it seems that this Delta strain is transmitting in schools.
It's absolutely obscene, and it again highlights the inequality that exists across our society. That sort of behaviour is not going to get us through a pandemic.
Now, just to add to the chaos, Juanita, we've also learnt that these boys who were supposed to receive their second jab of the vaccine in coming days are actually having to have that jab rescheduled. The local health district says that the school has been in contact with them, asking them to reorganise the dates for those boys. So a lot of uncertainty for kids who've received one jab about when and if they'll receive the second as well.
Sarah Gerrithy reporting there.